Well, the new book is called Legacy of Secrecy, and it basically talks about the aftermath of the JFK Almaheda coup plan and its infiltration by the mafia, and how parts of that were used to kill JFK to force a cover-up that didn't just happen in the hours, or days or weeks after JFK's death, but literally continued for decades in a way that I don't think anyone, not Bobby Kennedy or the mafia bosses that killed JFK, really expected. And the results are really quite dramatic, because after getting away with murder once, some people were willing to try that sort of thing again. People who were seen to have legitimately kept secrets for national security to protect Commander Almaheda and the government were then trusted by future governments, and later rose to become things like a Secretary of State. So there are many ramifications of what happened, plus more information continues to emerge on the Mary Farrell website and from the National Archive to confirm the things in Ultimate Sacrifice and to flesh out certain details as well. So there's a lot of incredible new information, not the least of which is just the first full story for the first time of the full confession that Carlos Marcello made to a trusted FBI informant. And Marcello was the godfather, literally the godfather, of Louisiana and East Texas, including Dallas. And he confessed to an FBI informant when he was finally in federal prison in 1985 in a detailed way that's never been in any book or article before, and as part of a top secret operation that we reveal for the first time called Camtex, Camtex, for Carlos A. Marcello in Texas. And as part of that operation, the FBI had one of their trusted informants moved in to be Carlos Marcello's cellmate in prison. And he was not only informing on Marcello, but a federal judge found this informant to be so credible, he authorized Title III surveillance, which included not just phone bugs on calls that Marcello might make, but the FBI had a special transistor radio constructed with a bug in it, gave it to their informant, Marcello's cellmate. And so there are hundreds of hours of tapes of Carlos Marcello talking about New Orleans and all sorts of things. And the existence of these tapes in this operation has literally never been known until the publication of Legacy of Secrecy. And Marcello talks about setting Jack Ruby up in business in Dallas, meeting Lee Harvey Oswald at a meeting arranged by Marcello's pilot, David Ferry. All sorts of incredible details that have never been public before. One heavily censored document has existed from that time period, but the informant's name was censored. The circumstances were unknown. It was impossible to gauge the credibility. Now this book tells the full story for the first time, and it's really amazing not only how the FBI got Marcello's confession, but how it remained secret even while the rest of the country was celebrating and getting new attention on the 25th anniversary of JFK's assassination. As I mentioned before, when you get away with murder once, you tend to try that again, which is why there were almost 1,000 unsolved mafia hits in Chicago, during the 1900s. And Carlos Marcello, who was aligned with both Chicago Mafia and the Tampa Mafia on business ventures, but Marcello was actually one of the most ruthless mobsters, godfathers of all. And he got away with murder. As we now document fully, he fully confessed to a trusted FBI informant. And that's all documented. And apparently, several years later, Marcello, who was a very big racist and associated with racists, as Detective Guy Bannister employed Oswald during the summer of '63. Bannister was a white supremacist. Also during 1963, it's now been discovered by Dr. Kurtz that Joseph Miltier, another white supremacist racist, who was on tape talking to a Miami police informant about JFK's assassination 2 weeks before it happened, Miltier was also an associate of Marcello's private detective, Guy Bannister, and of Marcello himself. Well, the information we've uncovered now ties Miltier also to Martin Luther King's assassination, which most people have acknowledged was probably a conspiracy The House Select Committee certainly looked that way. Even Gerald Posner said it was very possibly a conspiracy. People have never been able to put together exactly how, though. And it's clear the racists in America, the extreme racists, wanted to see him dead. And we finally explained exactly how that happened, why, who paid for it. Miltier was involved, just as he had been involved on the periphery of the JFK assassination. And Carlos Marcello was involved with 3 close associates with James Earl Ray. But the House Select Committee had misidentified one of those 3 Marcello associates, and because 2 doctors in New Orleans had the same name, we've since clarified that, shown a family connection between the real doctor and Marcello. And so when you put Marcello into that equation, and he has been linked to the Martin Luther King assassination since the early 90s, but people were kind of missing the motivation. They didn't realize the racism of he and his associates. And we explained how he was involved. Now, it's very different, Marcello and the Martin Luther King assassination, than the JFK assassination. In the JFK assassination, Marcello was the prime mover, getting help from his good friend Santo Trafficante in Tampa, Johnny Roselli of the Chicago Mafia, with Sam Giancana and Hoffa kind of in the background, not actively involved, but definitely supportive. For Martin Luther King's assassination, it was basic racism on 2 levels. One is that the more blacks in the South were able to get true equal rights and job opportunities and more money, that would hurt Marcello's vice operations in the black neighborhoods, where policy games and other sorts of gamblings were big regular sources of income that Marcello could count on. He knew how to exploit the poor blacks in America that way. And the other problem was when they would have job stoppages and work outages and have strikes and threaten strikes. Well, if you're a striking garbage worker or a bus driver, you're not going to be able to play the policy that week. Now that's going to hurt Marcello's operations, which depended on a steady stream of money to pay off local officials, judges, policemen. When that stream dries up, even temporarily, that's a problem. So Martin Luther King did represent a threat, a very real monetary threat to Carlos Marcello. Marcello was a racist, had racists working for him, but then there was also the pure profit motive. When you want to have someone assassinated, you go to a professional to do it, and a lot of money was involved at the time. So, did Marcello just do it for money? No, but both the money he could make from the wealthy racist who wanted to see King dead, and the money he would make if King didn't stir up the black communities into these strikes and job actions, provided a motivation. And like I said, Legacy of Secrecy provides 2 brand new links to James Earl Ray and through Miltier to Ray that haven't been reported before.